This tutorial explores the question of why there are only 12 user input variables. So we have user input variables wordbox1 through wordbox4. We have user input variables numberbox1 through numberbox4. And finally, we have user input variables listbox1 through listbox4. Why are we limited to only 12 user input variables in Alexia BASIC, at least certainly version 1.0? Well, the reason for that is for a lot of individuals who are brand new to the world of computer programming, having unlimited choice can create a very high degree of confusion and complexity that's really not necessary when, somebody's really just trying to get started understanding the basics of computer programming. Now, as it relates to one's ability to create complex spells with just 12 user input variables, various tests have been done which have demonstrated that being limited to these 12 user input variables really doesn't place any meaningful restriction on the level of complexity or robustness of a spell that can be created. Bear in mind that once you've used a particular user input variable, say for example wordbox1, if you put something into that user input variable and you make use of it, and now you don't necessarily need to have that same bit of data within wordbox1, you can certainly put another piece of information into that variable. The same is true for all of the number boxes, and it's certainly true to a degree within list boxes, although you have to keep in mind, right, that list boxes, unless they're emptied, will continue to accumulate data. Now, here's a power user tip that you may not necessarily read on the Alexia BASIC website or anywhere else. So word boxes and number boxes are interchangeable. So for example, if you wanted to put a word into a number box, that's okay. If you wanted to put a number into a word box, that's okay as well. So the reason that's important to keep in mind is because when working with word boxes, if suddenly you find yourself needing maybe one more user input variable that will operate the same way that a word box does, you can certainly make use of a number box if one happens to be available. So that really provides a lot of flexibility. The reason why one set of user input variables are called word boxes, right, and the other set are called number boxes, that once again is really just intended to help somebody who's brand new to the world of computer programming, who's trying to keep everything straight in their mind as they create a spell. It's a lot easier to think in terms of, hey, if I need to put a name or a word of some kind, where would I put that data? Well, I'd put it into a word box, right? See, because the name includes the word word, it's just a lot easier to make that association in one's mind. If by contrast, a particular spell happens to be working with numbers, and you're thinking to yourself, well, where do I temporarily store a number so that I can work with it a little bit later? It's just a lot easier, right, to think in terms of, hey, I could put it inside a number box. Now, in the future, there very well may be more user input variables. That is certainly an option that exists. But for the purposes of really trying to maintain a level of ease of use, right, for most people who are brand new to the world of computer programming, who don't necessarily, have a lot of experience, and yet who want to be able to work with variables, the user input variables that are provided, all 12 of them, really do provide a great deal of flexibility and robustness that has been tested and proven to be an adequate number of user input variables for practically any spell that anyone would want to create. Thanks for watching. Now please subscribe to our channel.